Are you looking for a simple and easy, sweet and fruity, gluten-free, low-fat dessert? The Rapa Nui people on Easter Island in the South Pacific have a traditional dessert called poe that is just that. Poe is a pudding cake. Basically, it's a cross between a moist, dense banana bread and a thick, dense pudding. I'm excited to share my version that uses traditional ingredients found on Easter Island that you can easily find in your local grocery store. The different Polynesian islands have variations of this dessert. Some are made with plantains while others contain pumpkin. Some have flour while others use starch. Either way, you get a sweet, moist, dense, satisfying, fruity dessert. Let's check out my simple version. For the ingredients, you'll need sweet potatoes, ripe bananas, vanilla, tapioca flour or starch, salt, brown sugar, and the optional coconut cream to dollop on top. Since this dessert comes together quickly, go ahead and preheat your oven to 375 degrees. You're going to grease a 2-quart baking dish. I'm using an 8x8. You can use cooking spray, you can use coconut oil, just whatever you have on hand. Make sure it gets greased really well. And then set that aside. You want to peel and dice a 266 gram sweet potato, which is about 2 cups. And I used about half to 3/4 of this potato. So you might just need 2 small ones, maybe 1 medium and part of a large one. And then just dice it in large chunks and then put it in a food processor. We're gonna blend the sweet potato until it's smooth. Just stop periodically and scrape down the sides of your food processor. Notice it's starting to look like carrots, but it will smooth out as we continue to blend. Root vegetables like sweet potatoes are commonly grown on Easter Island, and I like adding sweet potatoes to this dessert because it adds texture and an orange-pink color to the dish. Okay, you can see our sweet potatoes are pretty smooth right now, but they'll smooth out even more when we add the other ingredients. You're gonna need about 3 or 4 bananas to add to this dish, but you're gonna have to peel them. 350 grams, which will be about 2 cups, and we're just gonna cut these into chunks so they'll be easy to blend in the food processor. So I'm gonna need about 3.5 bananas for my dish. And then once you just chop them up to large chunks, just add them to your sweet potato mixture. We're gonna blend them both until smooth. Bananas are the dominant flavor in this dessert. If you don't like bananas, you can use less, but their smooth, gelatinous texture creates a smooth, pudding-like cake. Notice once we added the bananas, the mixture became really silky smooth. It's like orange sherbet. It's just a beautiful color, and it's really smooth. So that's what makes it such a dense, moist cake. Once you have a nice mix going there of your sweet potatoes and your bananas, we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of vanilla because we have such a strong banana flavor in here. This vanilla helps to balance out the banana. Okay, let's give this a quick mix. In a small bowl, I measured out 110 grams, which is 1 cup of tapioca flour or starch, the same thing. You can also use potato starch or corn starch. I prefer the tapioca because tapioca starch comes from the cassava root plant, and that is commonly grown on Easter Island. To that, we're gonna add 1.5 grams, which is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna add 112 grams, a 1/2 cup packed brown sugar. Kind of makes it easy when you can put all of this in one container. Okay, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a stir while it's in here just to help get the wet and the dry moving when I turn the machine on. Okay, we're gonna turn this on and we're gonna process it until the flour is no longer lumpy and it's a smooth consistency. Stop periodically and scrape down the edges. We've got a little bit of flour hanging out at the top there. We wanna ensure that we have no lumps. Check it out. Look how smooth that is. That's it. So all we have left to do is pour it in pan and bake it. Just notice how it oozes out of there. No fat, no gluten. Plenty of sugar from the fruit though, and the brown sugar. Okay, just smooth out the top. It's not gonna rise much. What a quick and easy dessert. We're gonna place the pudding cake in the oven and bake for 30 to 35 minutes until the cake is firm on top all around. Check it out, our pudding cake is done. Notice it rose a little bit, but not a whole lot because it is like a pudding, so it's going to be fairly dense. Notice that it is firm all around. So it is completely done. I allowed mine to cook for about 32 minutes. So now we're gonna let this cool at room temperature. You can serve this pudding cake warm or cover it and place it in the fridge until it's cold. We really enjoy it cold, and I'll show you how to make it look pretty. Since it's such a pretty simple looking dish, we can jazz it up just a bit too. Once it's cooled, you can see that it is not a thick dish. It is dense and moist. Notice the orange and pink hues from the sweet potato. When you cut into it, this is best cut into squares. And if you want a nice cut, you should loosen up those edges just a little bit because this is going to be a relatively sticky dish here. Notice how easily it cuts. These are relatively small pieces. You can make them as large or as small as you want. The first one is always the most difficult to get out. That's what it looks like on the inside. So the pudding cake slices cleanly due to the dense, moist texture. It holds together very well. No crumbling since it's so moist. I can smell the banana. It comes through very well. Look at the bottom. Kind of a uniformed color. My house smells like banana bread. So to serve this, when you cut it, you place it on a serving piece. Now if you look at this cake, it's, you know, I hate to say it, but sort of boring looking, right? There's no color or texture to it. So we're gonna add a little bit of color and texture. This has a lot of islandy sort of a feel to it. You could serve it like this. In fact, we enjoy eating it just like this. It's just not appealing visually at this stage, but it's very good just like this. So I'm going to add a dollop of coconut cream, which is the top of the milk. So in a can, if you don't shake the can and you open it, you have mostly water down below and you have a layer of coconut cream at the top. We're going to take this top layer and we're just going to put a little dollop of it on our slice. So it looks like, almost looks like a whipped topping. I had a small amount of potato left over that I did not need for my dish. So I grated that because I thought it would add a nice color to our dish, but also it would highlight what's on the inside. You could do the same with bananas, but I would probably mix the bananas with a little bit of acid, maybe some lemon, lime, or orange juice, grapefruit juice, whatever you have, because they might turn brown. I think the sweet potato looks great as is. And because we did use a little bit of coconut milk, you could sprinkle on some coconut flakes. I have a bit of coconut chips here that I'm using. So I'm just gonna break them up again. This just adds texture. And then the last thing is I'm gonna add a little bit of brown sugar. Again, it just sort of highlights the ingredients that are in the dish, but also adds a little bit of texture. And it looks nice on top of the coconut cream. The sugar will have a nice crunch when you take a bite. So there you are, final view of the Rapa Nui Easter Island Poe pudding cake, all decorated. A simple dish that you can make look elegant. This Poe dessert is simple, sweet, and fruity. It stores very well in the fridge for up to a week. This is a hearty, sweet dish that works well for a satiating sweet breakfast or snack. If you're looking for something a little different that's gluten-free and low in fat, this just might be the dessert for you. We have really enjoyed eating this pudding cake and hope you do too. Thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing. Until next time, go bake the world.